Welcome back to Global War 1939. We just finished off round three. So let's take a look at some of the actions that each nation has taken. So for the Germans, just like round two, just another buildup, another maneuvering of units, and getting ready for the attack into the Soviet Union. So the bulk of the German Army and Air Force is in this region. So in Romania, card two, which is this force here, so they got quite a number of infantry, artillery. I would like to see at least another 5, possibly 10 more infantry before making that assault. Currently in Hungary, making their way towards Romania. Most of this is the surviving armor from the attack in Paris. They've added a couple units along the way. And these two forces will join up together this turn, or on turn 4. Their Air Force, they did lose a couple of tactical bombers in the attack on Yugoslavia. So they're going to try to get back to their 5 tacticals, 5 veteran fighters, and their 2 medium bombers. In Paris, we just added a couple more infantry, getting ready, slowly getting ready for the possible invasion of the Allied forces. As for the Italians, they're currently making their way to Cairo. So right now they're in Alexandria. This turn coming up, they'll enter Upper Egypt, and then the next turn after that, make their main assault. So this is the bulk of their forces there. So they have 7 infantry, 2 advanced infantry, artillery, heavy artillery, 2 light armor, and a mechanized. They did go ahead and purchase 2 medium tanks. Now, tanks for the Italians are quite expensive compared to their counterparts. So possibly get 1, maybe 2 more. But they are very expensive for what you get. They also purchased 2 more transports. So right now they have 5. So that gives them the ability on this coming up turn to transport all these infantry units at once down into Africa, which will bolster their attacking power by quite a bit, actually. All right, and for the Russians, just a few more maneuvering. They got some infantry as a secondary defense. Not a lot, as the bulk of their infantry are in Ukraine and Moscow. So in the Ukraine defense, and of course they're going to be adding more units as time goes on. So this is going to be the main force to counter the German assault. So right now they got 8 infantry, 2 light armor, 3 medium armor, an artillery, and a mechanized. And they'll be bolstered by heavy artillery, 2 of their elite infantry, a couple more artillery. They did make their assault into Finland. There was a sizable Finnish infantry force with one of their fighters. The Romanian fighter that you inherit also made its way up for the defense of Finland. The Russians did take it quite a bit of losses. They lost all their artillery, infantry, and mechanized units that entered that battle, only surviving with their armor. So it will be quite easy for them to clean up the rest of Finland and then reposition those armor either into Moscow or Leningrad for the defense of their home country. Over in the far east of Russia, they just repositioned their infantry to defend their borders, but no real changes over the last couple of turns. As for the UK, Canada, and the Atlantic, the UK did make an assault into Oslo, pretty much flipping Scandinavia over to the Allied side. There's only 3 German infantry. The Germans can make a counterattack. They do have 2 transports, So they get 6 units in here total. However, the British do have 6 units of themselves, 4 infantry, heavy artillery, and a medium tank. So whatever units the Germans can get in, they'll be outclassed by the British. So that'll be a quite risky battle. One they should consider, considering Oslo is tied into 2 bonuses. So that's $10 for the Germans that is lost by that one territory. They also brought over their 3 transports to land all these units. They're being escorted by 3 cruisers and a battleship. So the Germans can use their navy to attack this. The prize, if they do commit to this battle, the prize would be the 3 transports. Getting rid of them off the map would hinder the UK quite a bit. It would be risky, as the Germans can only bring in a cruiser, 3 destroyers, a sub, and 2 medium bombers, as their air force is all in Hungary. So we will see. Outside of that, the Canadians got a couple transports, and they got a few. They got a light tank, a couple infantry, and artillery. They move over to the UK and to eventually into France. The Germans had a U-boat here. They dispatched 2 cruisers and 2 destroyers to clear that convoy box. This transport here is the one you start in British Columbia. So it's slowly making its way over to the Atlantic. And this is the German Navy that starts in the Atlantic. It's quite difficult once the game starts to match them into the Baltic Sea Navy, as there's quite a few British lying around. And they want to stay away from UK because any counterattacks by the British Navy will be supported by the Air Force. So it's quite difficult to get ships from here back in here to amalgamate them together. So essentially these guys are just coming down in the southern Atlantic, taking off convoy boxes when they can, and essentially just chasing this British fleet here of 2 destroyers and 2 transports. So in Africa, the UK are trying to get as many units into Cairo as possible. The South Africans did build a light armor, and they're utilizing these transports to get as many of these units up to Cairo as quick as possible before the Italians get there. Iran has been completely activated onto the Allied side. FEC, this territory here did get attacked again by the Japanese, and the FEC had to go and counterattack yet again. So this territory has changed hands quite a bit. And this fleet here is making this counterattack a lot easier, as they do have a transport, so making units can only move 1 turn at a time, just quickly jump over, and being supported by the 2 fighters. So the Japanese do have a response for this navy very shortly. All right. So for the Japanese itself, they did take out another island, so they just got 1 more to go. And then these 2, once the U.S. is engaged in the war, to activate a bonus here. And the Anzacs did have a fleet here, so the Japanese did position this smaller couple cruisers and destroyers, a couple subs, to counter the Anzac fleet. And they built another battleship, so this would be the start of a secondary fleet. And their main job will be to counter the Americans. Once or if this British fleet here gets destroyed by the Japanese, any surviving ships will make its way, amalgamate with this new fleet being constructed. And outside of that battleship, they just purchased a heavy artillery, a couple more mechs, and infantry. As the last couple turns on the infantry front for the Japanese have been quite costly. They've they've lost more than what was expected in these battles. But they did attack 4 Chinese territories. So this one here was captured by the Chinese. The Japanese retook it. These 2 and this one here. Now, after this battle, all the conscript infantry were lost, only leaving the Japanese with 2 veteran infantry. So the Chinese seen this opening to attack them, and they did, removing 2 veteran infantry, which is unfortunate because you can't rebuy them. You only start with them. So you want to protect them as they are stronger than the regular infantry. So you want to keep them on the map as long as you can. For the Chinese, all they did is counter one of the 4 attacks made by the Japanese, purchase more infantry. Over the course of these 4 battles, the Chinese did lose 12 to 15 infantry, so dwindling their military might quite a bit. Common with China, they just reinforced their border and waiting for the Japanese to attack, as infantry are stronger on defense than attacking. So China is really much in a defensive mode at this point. For the Americans in the Pacific, all they did, they purchased 3 more cruisers, and they did that as opposed to another capital ship. They just built 2 the previous turn. So this will bolster their support vessels, as they tend to fall behind on the support vessels and being top heavy on their capital ships. So they're trying to even out their capabilities a bit. They did move up 2 transports to take these 2 infantry back to Hawaii. Hawaii is more important than these. It does give you, it does have an income value, and it is a victory city. Even though like these 2 islands are important for landings for bombers and aircraft, they figure the city would be more valuable than 2 empty islands. All right. And the Americans on the Atlantic side, right now they got 3 transports, 4 destroyers, and a sub. They do have some infantry, a couple of Marines ready to jump over the next couple turns. They will have to bolster their army ranks quite a bit, get their transport fleet up to 10 to 12 before they start making landings. Economically, the Americans are sitting at 63, so not too far along to go, and the Russians are at 42 of 48. So if the Russians roll anything under a 5, then the Germans bought themselves an extra turn to build up. Anything above like a 6 or greater, and then the Russians will be joining the war. And the Americans are not too far off. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and have yourself a great day.